Will this be Matthew Stafford's last year as the Rams quarterback? Who could be the quarterback that succeeds him in LA? We're answering some of the biggest Rams questions right now. That's coming up next on Locked On Rams.
You are Locked On Rams, your daily Los Angeles Rams podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Ramily, and welcome to another episode of Locked On Rams, your daily podcast covering your Los Angeles Rams, free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Locked On Rams, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're also available over on YouTube, so if you haven't yet, do me the biggest favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell. If you really want to support the show, hit the like button, and for the podcast listeners, write a review and we'll read it on the show. My name is Doug McCain. Friends call me DMAC. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. I've covered LA sports for over a decade, 24/7 Sports, Bleacher Report, SI. I also do NFL radio for Westwood One. And on today's show, we are in the quiet before the storm period of the NFL season. All the draft is over, free agency, things like that. And we're just waiting for training camp at this point. It starts in July, late July, July 24th. So we're going to take a look at some big picture questions, the never too early type of questions. And that's going to be about the quarterback, the running back. Do they need another cornerback this season? Things like that. But first, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Okay, so the biggest question we're going to be asking ourselves after the 2025 season is, will Matthew Stafford be back for another year and finish his career with the Los Angeles Rams? Well, let's start with the contract that he got, with the revised contract that he got with this organization. Now, that has been one of the biggest storylines after the past season, and it was, will Matthew Stafford go somewhere else? There was wild rumors flying around that he was visiting the Raiders and who joined Pete Carroll and Tom Brady, who go to the Giants, and there was all these rumors out there. Ultimately, Matthew Stafford and the Rams agreed to a new 2-year, $80 million contract, and the new contract has $40 million in guarantees. It's a $26 million raise to his previous contract, with $17 million coming in the first year. And Stafford has a couple of option bonuses that are worth up to $24 million that are both in 25 and 26. There's also multiple void years for salary cap purposes, and Stafford's salary cap number in 2025, it went down by $8.7 million as a result of the new contract. So when you look at this new deal, what you need to know about it is, one, it opened up $8.7 million for 2025. The cap hit went from $49.67 million to $40.97 million, so it went down almost $10 million. And you went into the summer, and it gave the Rams just more cap space. And that extra cap space can lead to putting a better team around him, but most importantly, big picture, is the future years of that deal. His cap hit in 2026 is at $41.77 million. So that's not a gigantic number that you can't get out from underneath. And you also have multiple void years that were added to the back end of that deal that include a $33.6 million cap hit in 2027. And the Rams, they would be able to take that on if they were able to get a quarterback on a rookie deal. So the big issue with Stafford's contract, and the reason why they had to revise it, was for the simple fact that there just wasn't enough guaranteed money for him. And if you look at the new deal, you got $40 million in guarantees, but at the end of the day, this is a very team-friendly contract for a high-level quarterback. Teams around the league would be lining up to get Matthew Stafford at this contract under these terms if they were in win-now mode. Because the way it is right now, he is the 5th highest paid quarterback for the 2025 season. He's the 14th highest paid quarterback in 2026. And that $40 million average per year, that's 15th in total guarantees. That does rank him at 17th. But the structure of that revised contract, it screams win now. It screams let's do everything we can to win a Lombardi trophy in 2025, and then maybe we get back to the negotiating table for 2026 and get some more guaranteed money in that deal. But what it also does is it allows the Rams and Matthew Stafford the flexibility to go their separate ways for whatever reason. If Matthew Stafford wants to explore the possibility of retiring somewhere else, if he doesn't want to play another year, if the Rams feel like they want to go in a different direction, this deal really gives both sides that out. And look, I think ideal situation, and I do think this is the number one plan. If you would ask Les Snead, Sean McVay, Stan Kroenke, the Rams brain trust, the Rams brass, what would be the picture perfect way that this plays out? The A plan for this would certainly be Matthew Stafford has 2 more elite seasons and he wins 2 more Super Bowls. He solidifies himself as a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's already a Hall of Famer, but this would cement his status as a first ballot Hall of Famer to win his Super Bowl or multiple Super Bowls in this stretch. And then during that run, you secure a quarterback under a rookie deal that you can develop under Matthew Stafford and learn from him. That would be the picture perfect scenario. But if that's not how it plays out, and this is his final season, which if I was a betting man, I would say if he stays healthy, he's going to come back to play 2 more seasons, and he's going to ride off into the sunset. I think he loves it here. I think he loves Sean McVay. He can compete here. His family loves Southern California, Los Angeles. You just don't move from L.A., especially when you're a multi-millionaire like he is, sent to millionaire status, but still, there are opportunities elsewhere. But I think what the Rams would like to do is win with him, but then also get a quarterback during this stretch. And you look at what the Rams did in 2025 at the draft. They traded out of the first round. They made a deal with the Falcons. They wanted Pierce out of Tennessee. They trade up. The Rams trade out of the first round, and they got an additional first-round pick. Now, just pie in the sky, Arch Manning is out there somewhere, and he has a great year at Texas, and he realizes potential, and the Rams, they make a Godfather offer to get up. They'd be competing with the Browns potentially, but is that realistic? Probably not. So I think when you look at the year the Rams are probably going to have, you're not going to be picking top 10 or top 5 if everything goes as planned, so you're going to be down in the first round, but with an additional pick, assuming that they don't use that additional pick to add a piece at the trade deadline or before that this season. And that's certainly a possibility. But let's just say that they have the year that we expect them to have, 10, 11 win season or more, make a deep run. Well, you're kind of picking that somewhere in the 25 to 32 range. And if that's the case, you might have to sweeten the deal and use that pick to go up in the draft. So who are some guys that they could take? Who are some guys that they could pick? Well, Albert Breer, SI NFL Insider, he was asked who was his early QB1 in next year's draft. And Albert Breer says LSU's Garrett Nussmeier, he would join the Gus Bus, South Carolina's Lenore Sellers, Penn State's Drew Aller, Clemson's Cade Klubnik, and Oklahoma's John Matier. That's another guy that's worth watching. So you look at the current quarterback situation. Jimmy Garoppolo, his contract expires at the end of this year. Stetson Bennett, he's on the final 2 years of his rookie contract. They view him as someone that, if everything works out, maybe he's a decent backup quarterback, but they don't view Bennett as, oh, he's QB1 of the future. I can tell you from within, that's not how they view Stetson Bennett. They're still giving him multiple opportunities to try to contribute to this franchise, but that's not what they feel is in the cards for him. Jimmy Garoppolo, of course, is going to be gone, and then the Matthew Stafford situation we've already laid out. And I think a lot of that has to do with durability and how well this team plays. So the Rams, they need to draft a quarterback at some point because you look at free agency. I mean, look, Sam Darnold, guys like that. I mean, you just don't find elite quarterbacks heading to free agency, right? They get drafted. They sign big extensions. Just the list goes on. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. I mean, Jane Daniels, the Commanders found last year. There's so many examples, right? So if you want to get your guy, either you can get semi-lucky like the Rams did and trade Jared Goff for Matthew Stafford, but do you really want to get a quarterback that is aging, right, to compare with this young group right here? They just got lucky with Stafford. I mean, that was very situational. That was the exception to the rule. The rule typically is you find your guy in the draft, you get him under a rookie contract, and then you can allocate those resources and the money you're not paying your quarterback to other win-now pieces, and you can try to make runs that way. That has kind of been the classic, okay, let's go for it now type of move. So the Rams, they're not going to be the only team that's going to be in the market for a quarterback in next year's draft. There's going to be other teams out there. So unless they are willing to go up and include more future draft capital, you're probably going to be looking at one of the 4th or 5th rank type quarterbacks in next year's draft. So that's kind of where they would be at right now. We're going to talk about those guys and some more depth in the next segment. Who will be the Rams quarterback after Matthew Stafford? That's coming up next on Locked On Rams. And a reminder that today's episode is brought to you by Ruget. Guys, you probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Ruget Ready. Ruget Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pill that can take hours, Ruget's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongues and kicks in fast, an average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Ruget might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. I love that it comes completely online. Ruget connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to Ruget.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Ruget website for full safety information. And we are off and running here on Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday. Free and available wherever your podcast. Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to send a shout out to those everyday listeners out there watching and listening to every single episode of Locked On Rams. Cannot thank you enough. And if you are new to the show, lots of new viewers, lots of new listeners lately, become a member of that Everyday Listeners Club. And all that means is anytime we drop a new episode, video, podcast, you watch. And that way, you won't miss a thing about your Los Angeles Rams. Okay, we're going to pick it up here in the second segment. Talk about some of these quarterbacks that you got to know about that are on your radar. You're going to be watching college football next season maybe a little more than you might have in previous years because the Rams are going to be in the market for a quarterback. So we talked about Drew Aller, 6'5", 238, where he's at its best is a pocket passer, but he also has that ability to just really complete pass. I mean, he's increased his completion percentage from 59.9% to 66.5%. He's been a solid guy. Carson Beck's interesting, 6'4", Miami transfer. He went from Georgia to Miami. He was someone that was looked at as someone that could have gone number one last year. So I know people are kind of laughing at Carson Beck for some reason, but let's not forget that when last season started, people were saying that he could have been the number one overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Yes, he did have a disappointing last season as a Georgia Bulldog, threw for 3,485 yards and 28 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. But we'll see. Can he get his stock back in Miami? Look at what Cam Ward did going from Washington State to Miami. Turns out to be the number one pick. He wins the Heisman Trophy. So I think for him, he just has to improve his accuracy. He just was not good as far as being an accurate thrower of the football, really inconsistent. He just was really bad in the first half of games. I mean, there's a lot of things to clean up. But, hey, we'll see. I mean, Miami, they got an air raid kind of style-ish offense, and he could have inflated statistics. It could be up. Could go up to the point where he's not even available for the Rams. Cade Klubnik's interesting, 6'2", 210. He is not that high on my list. I look at he's almost kind of he definitely is a guy where NFL scouts just kind of question his arm strength, and when they question arm strength, I'm like, okay, the NFL arm strength isn't everything as far as throwing lasers. You want to throw catchable, throwable, and ball placement and things like that. But I look at, I mean, he averaged 8.56 yards per passing attempt in 2024. That was 58. So he's not the biggest prospect for me. I'm not that high on him, but there are some guys that even had him as number one. So it's still up in the air. He is a senior, 6'2", 210. Sam Leavitt, Arizona State, redshirt sophomore. Hey, don't discount these Arizona State quarterbacks. Look at what Jane Daniels did going to LSU and then winning a Heisman Trophy, and then the way he looks. But he's really poised. He's mature. It doesn't really do it for me. We've talked so much about Arch Manning. That's the next guy we'll get into a little bit. Arch Manning, the big questions about him, though, are, one, will he even come out? There's a lot of questions that he might not even enter the draft because he hasn't gotten a ton of experience. He started just 2 college games. He's thrown for 583 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in those starts. I mean, the frame is good, 6'4", 222. He's got the Manning last name. That certainly helps. I'm curious to see how he plays this season. With Steve Sarkisian, that talented Texas Longhorn team, he could have an incredible year, put up eye-popping stats, win a Heisman, and then maybe he has no choice but to enter the NFL draft. But it's tough to project what he's going to look like because he's only made 95 career passing attempts. I mean, only 95 career passing attempts. That's an extremely small sample size. And there's also been some talk that he locks on to his receivers. He kind of goes to his first read, doesn't go through his progressions a lot. So, I mean, to learn all that in 1 year and expect him to be ready to go for the NFL, even if you have another quarterback in front of him, we're going to have to learn a lot. We're going to learn a lot from Arch Manning this year, and he's going to be tested early on. The Longhorns open up the season against the defending national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes, in Columbus, Ohio, to start things off. So he's going to be the sexiest name out there, but like I said, questions about if he comes out or how he develops next season. But let's be honest, if he is good and he does come out and the Rams have any chance of drafting him, he's mobile. Les Snead's already said, he's hinted that that's going to be a factor for their next quarterback. So that makes me really interested. And let's be honest, too. You don't see a lot of Rams jerseys in the top 50 of merchandise sales. And yes, I think we're going to get a jersey rebrand pretty soon. And I think you get a name like Puka Nacua is already really popular, but imagine an Arch Manning in a really nice Rams jersey, what that would mean for branding, marketing, and just bringing that juice to SoFi Stadium. I think having a young quarterback star you could grow with would mean a lot to this franchise. So I think that my point here is there's these added intangible benefits that come from Arch Manning that the rest of these guys just, at least right now, don't bring that he does. So there's John Mateer from Oklahoma, 6'1", 224, redshirt junior. He is a transfer to Oklahoma who's had 3 seasons at Washington State. 2024 had a breakout year. He has some bad habits that I don't think are going to fly when he gets to the next level. He's another guy that's gotten some criticism for his slow reads, and they say that he relies too much on his arm strength, which can be a good and a bad thing to kind of harness that skill set. But we'll see what happens with him. Another thing I want to throw out there, I mean, we talk about Garrett Nussmeier from LSU, 6'2", 200 pounds, fifth-year senior. He's another guy that is going to be one of the top quarterbacks taken, and you would most certainly have to trade up if you're the Rams and give future assets to get him potentially. He has kind of this gunslinger mentality out there, and sometimes it works for him, sometimes it doesn't. But he's another guy to look at this year. I mean, he does have some really great highlights, though. I'm telling you, of all these guys, the highlights right now, I mean, last year, 29 touchdowns, 12 picks, over 4,000 yards. He's the son of Saints offensive coordinator Doug Nussmeier. So he's lived and breathed NFL and just football in general for a long, long time. So he's got just this great feel for making big plays, but also that comes with some mistakes. So that's really interesting. I'm going to throw out a wild card there. You guys are going to be shocked about this one. How about Nico Iamaleava, UCLA? Yes. Am I a little biased? I'm a Bruin. By the way, all my best friends went to USC. So respect the Trojans too. But Nico Iamaleava, 6'6", 215 pounds. Great arm talent. Can get the ball out. Nice, fluid thrower of the football. Think he can improve on his accuracy, his touch. But he's another guy to keep your eye on it. Keep your eye on it. Because of that size, because of that ceiling. I mean, look, 19 touchdowns, 5 interceptions last year. This is his first season as a starter. Can he take a big, giant step forward at UCLA? New offensive coordinator. They're going to try to open things up, trying to have a more high-powered offense. He's a name that I think you got to familiarize yourself with. So that's the big question for me. I mean, that really is. I mean, the ESPN put out a piece, biggest questions for NFL teams, and about the Rams, their biggest question was, who is a sleeper team to watch at quarterback? It says Los Angeles Rams. The Rams have 2 first-round picks in 2026 and could get aggressive with a trade-up for Matthew Stafford's heir apparent. Stafford is entering his age 37 season on a reworked 2-year contract, so the Rams have time to identify a signal caller from what should be a strong 2026 crop. They could draft a passer next year and be afforded the luxury of having him learn behind Stafford for a full season. So they're saying what I've been saying here for months and months and months now, that next year is going to be the time. You can't wait. They might have pulled the trigger this year. There was some talk about being interested in Jackson Dart and guys like that. This year, you could have done it. Next year, you have to do it. That's just the facts. They absolutely have to go out there and make a move at that position, because that's the only way you're going to find your guy most likely where it makes sense with the current roster as constructed. But coming up next, Matthew Stafford talk continues. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer? Also, Jared Verse was asked, would you rather win 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards or win a Super Bowl? We'll give you his answer next on Locked On Rams. And a reminder that today's episode of Locked On Rams is brought to you by Game Time. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands? That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes it possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Game Time is the official ticketing partner of Locked On MLB, and it's making it easier to browse the app for an exciting upcoming MLB game. You go to the Dodgers versus the White Sox next Wednesday. Clayton Kershaw, 3 strikeouts away from 3,000 strikeouts. You can be at that game, and Game Time has last-minute tickets and zone deals for big savings like 10% off exclusive zone deals for FIFA Club World Cup matchups. Seat views right in the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you'll be. So it's a great thing. You go, you see where your seats are going to be. There's just great visuals. You know exactly how it's going to look when you get to those seats. That's really one of my favorite things about the Game Time app. You get the seat views right in the app before you buy, so you know exactly where you're going to be. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And welcome back to Locked On Rams. Thank you for making Locked On Rams your first listen every single weekday, free and available wherever your podcast Locked On Rams, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Okay, so Jared Verse was on a show, and he was asked this question. Would you rather win 1 Super Bowl or 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards? And he instantly says, we don't even got to talk about it. Super Bowl all the way. And he said it with gusto. He said it with conviction. He said it like he meant it from his chest. And then he thought about it for a couple of seconds. And he said, actually, heck no. I ain't even going to lie to you. 4? Get that out of here. I'm going with that. 2 or 3, I'd be like, oh yeah, championship all day. But let the team see this. All play it in the team meeting. I'm going with the 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. So it's such an interesting question because if you're on a team where you win 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, doesn't mean you're going to win a Super Bowl. Probably means you're on a good team. At least one side of your football is a really good team. If you win a Super Bowl, yeah, that's an awesome feeling. But how much did you contribute? Are you an all-pro player? Are you a Pro Bowl player? Because a Super Bowl is nice. There's no doubt about that. But it's not a guarantee that winning a Super Bowl gets you to the Hall of Fame, right? I mean, Matthew Stafford had the no-look pass, the no-looker, one of the best moments, one of the best throws in the Super Bowl, and there's still a debate whether or not he's a Hall of Famer, a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think it's a lock to be a Hall of Famer, but there's a debate whether or not it's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And he won a Super Bowl, and really, quite frankly, I still think should have been the Super Bowl MVP. Even though Kupp was fantastic. I just think quarterback's so important. That throw, just I've seen it probably legitimately 500 times in my life. Like, I'm not even joking. And the fact is that if you were to win 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, you're going to the Hall of Fame. And not only are you going to the Hall of Fame, you are going to go as a first ballot Hall of Famer. You will be getting that gold jacket. You'll be getting that bust. It'll be a hot day. You'll be in tears. They'll show shots of your beautiful wife and kids. They'll be in tears. It's just going to be this great moment. And then you're going to be a part of football history forever. Because no player has won more than 3 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Aaron Donald's won 3. Lawrence Taylor's won 3. No one's done it 4 times. This isn't to say, oh, Jared Verse is so good he's going to win 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. I think it's such an interesting topic because you might read this on paper and say to yourself, man, Jared Verse, is he a team player? What does it say about Jared Verse as a team player? Does it say anything? It doesn't. We know that he wants nothing more than to have the Rams be a successful team. But if you ask me, I'm taking Jared Verse's 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. I'm taking those, man. I am. And I don't know what that look. I mean, I would love to win a Super Bowl, right? It's always great to be on the game's highest stage, but some of it is out of your control, right? A lot of it's out of your control. Barry Sanders didn't sniff a Super Bowl, right? I mean, there's a lot of great players in the history of this league that did not win Super Bowls, and it wasn't because they weren't great. It's because their teams weren't great. So for me, yeah, I would love to win a Super Bowl. It would be my motivation every single day. But if it was between guaranteeing me the Hall of Fame versus winning a Super Bowl, I take the going to the Hall of Fame. I really would, because the NFL Hall of Fame, the Pro Football Hall of Fame is not easy to get in. It is not. Think about how many players have played this game. Think of how many players have played this game. There's only 371 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Think about that. I mean, that's kind of crazy. And you look at how many people have played in the NFL, there's been 26,600. Around that number have played in an NFL game. That's still an extremely small number, but only 371 of those are Hall of Famers. Hey, give me the Hall of Fame, man, because if you put up those numbers, you're signing the biggest contract. I'll buy myself a Super Bowl ring, and of course I'm only joking. I'll give me both. How about give me both? I'll win a Super Bowl and I'll win the 4 Defensive Players of the Year. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick the other one. But I want your answer to that question. What would you pick? 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards or a Super Bowl championship? Let me know down below. Have an incredible weekend. See you guys Monday. Go Rams. My name is Doug McCain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. And until next time, whose house? It's Locked On Rams house.